everyone, today I'm going to be making a catnip toy. So the items that we're going to need are obviously some fabric. I've got fleece fabric, some wool, whichever colour you choose, something to stuff the toy with, needle and thread, scissors and some catnip. So we're going to start with making a heart shape. Now, those of you who saw an earlier video of how to make a heart shape, you might want to use this before you actually do this toy. So I've got my heart shape pinned to my fabric already. It is purely up to you which size you use. You could make a smaller one or a larger one. There is no set dimension for it. So I've got my heart shape pinned to my fabric already. As I've shown before, you could use a smaller one. And just to save time, I've already cut some heart shapes out. So I've got different colours, as you can see. I've got fleece fabric, I've got some ordinary fabric from an old top, nice clean, but it's reusable. Up to you what colour you use, what kind of fabric. I'll just move my things out of the way. There we go. Now what I've done, I've chosen to use a white heart. So there you can see my heart shape. And I have pinned it. So all you need to do is to fold the heart in half, as shown. Pin it so it looks like this, and we're going to sew it. Now I've already threaded my needle and I'm using a different colour thread. If you wanted to use the same colour as your fabric, that's fine. I'm just using a different colour. So I'm going to start sewing my heart. There we go. Going to trim that long end. There we go, out of the way. I'm going to over sew my heart. If you wanted to use a running stitch or a blanket stitch, that's purely up to you. As I said, I'm using a different colour thread just for contrast, and I'm over sewing. This is quite a simple project, so again it could be done with children, probably slightly older children or adults. Great simple toy to make for your cats, or as we talked about before, if you have a local rescue, you could make some of these for them. Or purely family and friends who have cats. I made one of these yesterday just to try it, and my two cats have had a lovely time playing with it. For those of you who've seen my Facebook page, you'll have seen a video of Panda playing with hers this morning. Now, as I'm reaching almost to the end of my heart shape, I want to tie off my needle and thread because I need to leave a space so that I can stuff the mouse. So I'm just going to tie this off. There we go. Cut it. I'll put my needle and thread to one side. Now I can take my pins out. There we go. So I've got part of my heart shape sewn. Now the next bit, we need to stuff the mouse. It doesn't have to be stuffed tight, but obviously you want enough to make a shape. So I've got my nice new clean stuffing, which I'm going to use to fill my mouse. Now this can be a little bit tricky, especially getting it into the very end or the nose of your mouse. So you might want to use something like a pencil just to push it right in, which I'm going to do now. There we go. Just to get right to the nose. There we go. And keep putting some stuffing in. And what we'll do when we get to about halfway, we'll put some catnip in. Right, let's get the catnip. Here we go. I've got my catnip in a little tube, it makes life easier. You could spoon some in with a little teaspoon if you chose. I'm just going to pour some in. Again, there's no hard and fast rule about how much you put in. And that's about enough. Put that to one side. And then I'm going to carry on stuffing my little mouse. Now, for those of you who have heard of catnip, you probably already know that it's part of the mint family. So some call it catmint, some call it catnip. It's the same thing. It can be used to make teas for humans. Cats do like catnip, but they say about 1/3 of cats don't react to it at all. And some studies have said that it can be a genetic thing, that some cats do not have the gene that recognises catnip and it doesn't have any effect on them at all. I have owned cats that didn't react to catnip, but my two that I have at the moment, Panda and Eddie, they very much like it. It has an effect on cats for approximately 5 to 15 minutes and it makes them very giddy and very silly. Some cats can get very playful, some can even growl. Panda and Eddie love to play with the catnip toys and they run around. They very much like it. Now we can finish off sewing our mouse, but as we all know, mice have tails, so I have already made some tails from wool. Again, it is up to you how you make them. I've got different coloured wool you can choose. I've got some red wool and orange wool. I've made a tail here with lots of strands. All it is strands of wool knotted together, or if you wanted to, you could plait a tail. Plaiting wool is again a little bit fiddly, but it does make a nice tail. Or you could have different coloured wool. I've got orange and red to make a tail. Again, it's up to you which you choose. So for this little mouse, I'm going to have a red tail. So I'm going to put my tail into the gap in the mouse that hasn't been sewn, and I'm going to sew this in place. Now when I'm sewing the end of the mouse, I want to sew through the knot because that's the fattest part of the tail, just to secure it in place. So I'll pop that in, and then I'm going to get my needle and thread and finish sewing. Okay, so I have my tail in place. Let's just get this started. There we go. If you wanted to pin this together, that's fine too. I'm just holding it. As I said, it might be a little easier if you're doing this with children if it was pinned in place. Now make sure you sew through the tail, the knot of the tail, a number of times just to make sure it doesn't come out. There we are, almost there. There we go. Let's finish it off. Knot it, it's tight and secure. There we go. Cut the thread. Oops. And there we have a mouse toy. Now you could leave it as so, or if you wanted to give the mouse some eyes, again you could do that. Right, so I'm going to make a couple of eyes. Where should we have our eyes? There we go. All I'm going to do is to use my cotton to sew some eyes. There we go. You don't have to do this. I'm sure your cat wouldn't mind if it didn't have eyes, but it looks pretty. There we go. I'll go through to the other side. Do the same on that side. There we go. Little mouse has now got eyes. So I'm just pulling the thread through. Got it. And there we have our catnip mouse with its eye and its wool tail. Very, very simple. Now I've made this very quickly. It's up to you. If you have access to a sewing machine, you might want to use that. I've just made it by hand. Good luck with making it. Let me know how you get on. I'm sure your cat will love it. Bye for now.